the scratches, and I'll show you that too. And then about 15 years ago, they stopped making the inks that I liked. And I couldn't, so I practiced with different inks, tried different inks, and none of them were waterproof enough for this technique. And then I was doing acrylic painting on canvas for a while. And so I had acrylic paint, and I thought, well, you know, that's waterproof, so I'll try that. So I used various acrylic thinners and airbrush mediums to thin down the acrylic paint. I was using full body acrylic at the time. And that worked. It worked fine. And so I did that for a while. And then about 7, 8 years ago, the Golden Company formulated their paint for airbrushes. So this is high flow acrylic paint. And it is about the consistency of, you know, ink. It's very thin. You can put it through an airbrush. The difference between this and ink is that you have to shake it. There's pigment particles in this, so with ink you usually don't have to shake it if it's not, you know, 20 years old. And before I forget, the big tip here is close the bottle before you shake it. I have mistakenly thought, well, I'll leave it open because I'm going to get more. I'm putting it in the airbrush, but don't ever leave it open. So what I'm going to do really quickly, so I really like this stuff, and this is what I'm using now, is this very thin acrylic paint. And I'm going to pass out some scratching tools. These are kind of the traditional scratching tools. I almost 90% of the time use a number 11 X-Acto blade for my scratching, but these certainly work. So what I'll do, maybe we could somehow figure out the passing this straight back or something. And so this is scratchboard. That's the black scratchboard. And it is on a white clay surface. So what they did was they made a very smooth white clay, very thin layer of clay on these boards, and then painted it with ink. Whoops, sorry. And then here for you guys. And what I'm using is not the black scratch board. I'm using a clay board, which is, I didn't bring a blank, I have a blank clay board here, it's right here. Which is the same board, the same product, they just haven't sprayed it. So it's just white clay, very smooth surface. And I'm going to pass these out.
Do you want me to pass stuff out?
I'm just going to pass them to these 4 lines, and if you can just pass them straight back, and hopefully everybody will get a chance to scratch. So take one of these with it, and please scratch. That's what it's for, to scratch on. This acrylic is a little bit harder to scratch on than the black. I'll give you guys these two, because this is thicker paint, and you might want to try it thinner. If you paint the acrylic too thick, the scratches won't be clean. And so here and there, I just threw these together really fast. I hope you'll scratch on them though. I mean, that's the whole idea, is to get the feel for it. And for scratching on the blackboard, if you try as light as possible to begin with, and see how light a scratch you can make to get a mark. Because if you start lighter, you can always go darker. Well, really it's lighter because what we're doing, it's like drawing, but you're drawing light. You're not drawing shadows like you would with a pencil on white paper. You're drawing the light on the form. And I can pass out a couple samples. This turned out to be a big mistake, but I'll pass it around. I'm going to show you a little bit about transferring images to this board because it's a little bit tricky too. Sorry.
Oh yeah, because we want to see the mistake, Linda.
Well, so the mistake is that you see this white line. Part of transferring the image, you can use this white Sorel transfer paper. And then you just lay it on top and you can trace, you know, just a rough outline of whatever you're doing. Well, I did this, I don't know, years ago, and this will not come off anymore. The only way to get this off would be to scratch it. If I'd removed it quickly, when, you know, like within a day or so, it would have come off. But now it's on there.
So does the angle when you're using the pen face down, or is it facing up?
You know,
Or the little scratcher, because I don't have it any longer, but is it?
it's whatever,
However you want to do it.
sorry, it's whatever you want to do.
Okay.
And you might have to try a couple times before you can get a mark. And some people want to get real aggressive with it and scratch it very deeply. It's better to start shallow, to start very light, and then go deeper when you need to. I'll pass this around. And then this was, well, just a unfinished. But this one I finished. This is my son and daughter-in-law's hand with my grandson's hand.
Show the camera.
It's coming around.
Okay, here it is. Sorry. Anyway, there you go.
So how long did that take you?
You know, scratchboard is not a fast medium. And I don't remember, it's been a few years. But I'm gonna say maybe it took maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
It's not, I don't work 8 hours a day doing this. I do it watching TV, and I do, you know, what I liked about scratchboard when I first got it started was my kids were very young, and I could do it for 15 minutes and then go deal with stuff and then come back and do it for 15 minutes. So the other thing I will touch briefly on for the black scratchboard is you can do a full black and white board and then color it. And these are ampersand boards. Other companies do make scratchboard, but I like it because it's very firm, it doesn't warp, it's, you know, the clay is thick enough. And they sell a scratchboard ink that, interestingly, covers the scratches and not the black. If you, let me just do this real fast. If you look at it, the reflection, you can see, like, especially the yellow.
She got a little close to her mic.
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. So we'll just color that. And now it's gonna have to dry. Sorry about that. Well, I'll pass this around, let it dry. So although you can probably see a little bit of the ink on the black, once you varnish it, you probably can't even tell. So it's kind of interesting that they can, I don't know which way that one. Okay,
So
so,
Linda, is that, so if you make a mistake, you use that ink and you set the black again, is that what that's for?
they do have a black. I didn't bring it. They do have a black, but it's not, for some reason, I haven't found it to be a perfect match to their black ink. But you can add just like a fraction of blue and then it's a perfect match. So you can, you know, you can repair
That's what I'm sitting here thinking, it
things.
might not be very forgiving.
It's not, it depends, right? If you scratch really lightly to start and then decide you've made a mistake, you can easily paint with that black ink that they provide and then repair it and then wait for it to dry and keep going. There are some things you can recover from. Unfortunately, there's some things you can't. But with this full color technique that I'm gonna try to show you little steps of, it's much more forgiving because I'm painting with acrylic, I'm scratching it, image back out, then I'm doing washes of acrylic. So if I scratch too much, I'm going to put more washes on. And if I put too many washes on, well, I'll scratch those off. So again, you kind of have to be a little careful. Well, I was going to say you have to be a little careful with your scratching, but I usually am not. My first layer,
But you should be, but she
you
isn't.
should be, yeah. Once you get used to it, you'll know how much you can push it. My first layer is, I use old blades and, you know, like those tools that I gave you they're not as sharp as a number 11. The number 11, so I start with, it could be a well-used blade to start with, because my scratches are not that important, and I'm trying to just scratch through the whole surface. I pretty much scratch over the whole board. And then as I put a layer of wash, I kind of go to a sharper blade, and then I go to a sharper blade. And I kind of am not that picky about my blades, so I just use a knife sharpener to keep sharpening them, and then I scratch, and then I sharpen and scratch. But for the last layer, I usually get a brand new blade. So you'll know where we're going with this. See, I remembered. This was a board I made for, I think, the California Museum in Oakland, for a scientific illustration show for how to do this technique. And so this one was done with ink and watercolor. So what it shows is the tracing. I hope it shows. Yeah, you can kind of see the tracing there. So that's how I traced the animal on the board. And then the next step, I just painted it in. You have to have a dark enough paint so that you can see your scratches. If you don't have it dark enough, you're wasting your time, really. And then on top of that, you can see the white transfer paper was what I was using at the time to put in the feathers. And then I just fully scratched all the feathers. And then here, it's not enough to show you really, but this is the wash of watercolor at the end. And then once, I'll pass that around. Once that wash of watercolor is on, then I would scratch some more and then back and forth until I get hopefully kind of a three-dimensional look. The other thing I liked about this technique at the time when I started it was I wasn't really confident about my color mixing then, and it allows you to build up your colors, so you don't have to really feel like you've committed, because in fact I did at a demonstration, I did a workshop once and was demonstrating a giraffe, and while I was talking and not paying too much attention to mixing my colors, the color I made the giraffe was green. So the initial, I hope I get to it, laying down of color, it was a green giraffe, but in the end it wasn't a green giraffe. It never ended up being green. So it's almost like those bottom layers are more about value. And even if you're doing white, you have to do some color. You have to either, and white isn't always just white anyway, so you do have to add color to the board. Let's see. I don't know if this is worth passing around. This is just another one that I do some airbrush in my backgrounds, mostly because it's a good way to fill in space without doing all the scratching. And I kind of like that blurry background. So I left this white. I don't want to airbrush over where I'm scratching because that's another layer of paint. And even though it's an airbrush, does add to the thickness of your paint and will make it harder to scratch. And then I think I traced the thing first and then airbrushed it and then did a quick fill in of paint. And then down here at the bottom, I started scratching very lightly just to smooth out those edges. So that also kind of gives you a little sense of the steps that I go through. Let's see. So when I'm starting, I have found the easiest thing to do, because it's not really forgiving and you don't want to draw with a pencil on this board. You can, I didn't bring my charcoal. Sometimes you can draw on charcoal and that would be okay. But a pencil, you can't get rid of those marks with this process. You will fight them, you'll have to scratch them off. So what I do is I use the gray graphite Surral transfer paper, and I just lay it on top of the board, and then I cut this is just a paper print of this image, And it's not a great photo, but it's not gonna matter. And then I line it up, I don't know if I can show you. So you've got the transfer paper, you've got this print, and although I don't do this much anymore, I line it up, I do this, I line it up at the corner. And the reason is that I can always line it up again if I want to go back with getting some internal, because I'm gonna paint this whole thing with, and not very well. If I want to get some of these details back, I'm gonna have to line it up again. But I found lately that the painting is usually enough. I don't usually need to go back. And for the graphite, you should use a pen because the graphite doesn't transfer as easily as the white. The white Surreal, you want to go very lightly because you saw how dark how dark the white lines were. So here, what I would do, and I don't know that this was the best choice. Let's see. I would quickly outline just the shapes of the colors. So, and again, it doesn't have to be too perfect. I'm just trying to get.
Is that a ballpoint?
This is a ballpoint pen. And the reason I'm using a ballpoint pen is because, I don't know if you can see, you can't see it there, but the graphite barely, whoops, nope, can't see it. See, you can't even see it. Anyway, the graphite barely shows. The white shows up better than the graphite. And so here, if I don't want to follow this image, I can go ahead and make my own adjustments to it, right? So here's this leaf and this, and let's say that I don't like that being straight, so we'll make it curved. And then this will go here. Anyway, you can kind of, it's like some things are important and you'll learn over time what's important and what's not, because you have a lot of time to adjust. Okay, so let's say we've done that. Let's see if I can, I don't know if you can see. Can you see that? Oh, just barely.
Yeah.
But you can see, I can see it. I can see enough to paint with. And then, using the, I don't have, the other reason I like these golden products is that they have all the colors that I liked when I was painting on the canvas, right? They must have 40 or 50 of them. And so the colors that I really liked are still there. And the other thing about acrylic versus ink is that it is positively waterproof. And I tried a lot of inks that said they were waterproof, but this takes a fair amount of washes on top. And so they would end up not being waterproof. So, but I know this is waterproof. They tell you right on it what the light fastness is. So I know it's, you know, archival, it's not gonna change colors or, I mean, if it does, it won't be much. And I typically use the same colors. I don't know why, maybe I'm picking the same subjects for all my pieces. And again, be sure and close these things. Let's see. And, you know, this paint, I can take a year of one bottle of it. It does not, you don't use a lot of paint for this process. But I do shake it every time. So I have now gotten into the habit of closing them and giving them a shake. So the colors that I like to use are the ultramarine blue, the sap green, alizarin crimson. You can get a pretty nice black with those three and adding a little brown to it. And then I throw in, whoops, sometimes they seal themselves. Okay, so again, I don't know that I need to, I don't need to perfectly match this color. I just need to have it dark enough so that I can scratch in some of the details. I end up scratching the whole, even if it's a smooth surface, I end up scratching everything because it's difficult to transition from a scratched area to a non-scratched area. You'll see that. I don't care for the. So then, and then I use brushes that, you know, I don't care too much about, because after you're done doing this for a while, you won't care about them because they'll be pretty rough. But and so it's a trick of adding water and not too much water, because, whoops, I don't know if you can see this. So I'm just trying to mix a dark green with these colors. And then, let's see. Yeah, it's probably a little darker. And it's, you will always see the brush strokes on this clay. There's nothing that I have found that you know, no type of brush. I did try a cotton swab once on a piece that worked, but I had already scratched it so much that I'm gonna see if I can get that a little darker. Well, see, then you have to kind of wait a little bit because it's gonna lift it back up. This is a very smooth surface. Let's see, we'll try this other one. Anyway, I think you get the idea from the examples anyway, that the initial painting is going to be bad. There's nothing you can do about that. It's just, like, I don't know if you can see that. You can see all the brush marks. And so one of the most important things, especially if you're doing animals and plants too, is to brush in the direction of the fur growth or the plant growth. Because if you brush sideways, you're going to fight those brush marks the rest of it. You won't even ever be able to really disguise them unless you, although I've used scalpels and steel wool and erased quite a bit. So you can still go back with steel wool and a scalpel and scrape it off. But again, that clay surface is very thin. I've never scratched through it, but I have had people in workshops who have, you know, if you start too aggressively, you can only go more aggressive. So it's better to start light. So that's how you would do the tracing and the painting. And then I brought, did I? Yep. This guy who is pretty sad, but I think he'll do the trick for what we're going to do next. So in this one, you can see that this is the bad painting. The underpainting is really bad. But the brush marks are mostly in the direction that his fur is going. Doesn't have to be perfect, just mostly. And then his face, I have scratched his face. And not well, but I scratched it. And then what I'll show you is, I'll show you a little more scratching, and then I'll show you the washes on top of that, where you can make all your corrections, right? So you have multiple places to make corrections. The first wash, the first painting on this board is going to be messy. And then the next, the scratching, you have an opportunity to correct that, to smooth things and to, you know, reshape your fur in the right direction. And then when you do your wash, you have another chance to correct those, you know, what you may have taken too much out, and then back and forth until, I think the least number of layers I've done on a piece was 4, which is really nice when that happens, but doesn't happen too often. Sometimes it's like I'll fiddle with these things. Even after I spray them, I fiddle with them sometimes. So let's see if we can get this. So here he is, and I'm using an X-Acto blade. And then we'll just kind of scratch here and there. And you can hear it, so if that drives you nuts, this might not be the, although some people scratch so delicately you can't hear them. And luckily my husband doesn't mind the scratching, or I'd probably have to find a new medium. So anyway,
So you're that committed to your husband?
yeah. Well, we'll see. So anyway, then we go through that, and then once you have, and I typically scratch the whole board one time, right? And then I don't like start painting certain areas or doing washes over certain areas. I go ahead and scratch the whole board. And then, do I have a brown? I don't know if I brought, oh. And again, I'll use a smaller brush, I guess. Let's make that a little darker. So these washes, you do want them to be washes. You don't want them to be the full strength of the paint at this point. And see if I could do this upside down. Probably not. But it's darker over his eyes and darker down here. And sometimes I have to get a little paint off because it's too wet. And then you can just start putting the hair patterns in. Let's see, try one more. Oh, and then down this side, it's a little bit darker. So, like I said, you have lots of opportunities to correct. And even, like, this guy's got hair, creases, whatever they are. And I didn't put those in when I was scratching, so I could put those back in here and then scratch again. So you kind of get the idea. I hope. Does that make sense? And then I would clean up this mess. If I was doing it at home, well, it'd probably look like that too. It really doesn't have to be perfect. The time when the perfect part comes is at the end, when you are really putting in those last details that kind of make it all come to life, and the hair, the highlights in the hair and the highlights in the eyes. And anyway, let's see, what else can I tell you? I mean, typically, oh yes.
The image of the hands, it didn't look like that was scratched at all. How did you do that?
It's with a very fine X-Acto blade, and I think I started by just little tick marks almost. Not quite. You have to actually just, stippling is kind of a waste of time with this, but you can, I don't know if this is good enough. You can kind of see that, I don't know if you can see those or not. It's just you just make very tiny light marks. And then once I had done it all over, so it was not as, the values were not as good as the final, because then you can go through with washes of their ink over to blend that light to dark. So it's kind of, even with that piece, I did do washes of the ink back into it, and then more little tick marks. So you have to really like little tick marks. And people, when you do demonstrations or shows or something, you know, people say, well, that looks tedious, and yeah, it probably does. To me, it's meditative. I just, you know, your mind can wander. I watch TV, you know, keeps you from doing housework. But, yeah, any other questions? Yes.
So on the puppy sample, I'm not sure where it went, it almost looked like something had been used to smooth it over, or.
Was there a sheen to it?
There was a little sheen.
I
with
wanted
it.
to be sure I couldn't remove it. I thought I couldn't, but I tried yesterday or today to remove it. I was pretty sure I wouldn't be able to.
To remove what?
The white. Is that what you're talking
The
about?
tracing paper?
The sheen over the white part?
It was over the scratched areas. It almost looked like it had been erased or burnished or something.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's been so long.
If you were in IT,
That-
that would be for
oh.
eating Fritos.
What you can do is, and I don't remember on this one, I think I scratched it, and then I think I softened it, right? So you can see these scratches here, and this is like a 4/0 steel wool that you can get at, you know, Home Depot or someplace. And then you can soften it.
Yeah, that's making that area shiny.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, yeah, that must have been what I did. I did try to soften it. The thing is that once you do that and you varnish it, you're not going to see that shiny, that sheen that the steel wool puts on.
Okay.
You won't see that.
So it was to soften the line, effect of the lines.
Yes. Well, the dog was pretty soft and furry, and so the X-Acto blades are more for straight. You know, if you had, like for the bear, his hair is more sharp, and
Right.
so a scratch tool, I would probably still soften areas of it because I just like some of it to be softer. But this dog, once I scratched it, I realized that I wasn't going to scratch it smooth or scratch it to be soft. So this steel wool just softens it.
So then what kind of a varnish are you putting on there?
I use a golden varnish because I'm using the golden products, but I also use that for this. And I use 3 coats of their gloss varnish and then 2 coats of the satin. And the reason I do that is that the satin varnish has a, if you spray too much of it on there, you'll get a filmy look because it has particles in there to make it satin. Whereas the gloss keeps everything sharp and all the colors bright, and then, but I like the satin look. The satin is more like what the board itself looks like. So, and I do that with even the black ones. I do it, what you do is you spray it once, and then you rotate it, spray it, rotate it, spray it, and then the next 2 I do with the satin. But it can be scary because if you get interested in scratchboard, that is when people panic, is when they spray it, because you can pretty much ruin your board. But then you can also smooth it down and spray it again. Yeah.
How would you smooth it down?
Well, usually the problem with spraying is that they sprayed too close, and then it drips. And so those drips, you can, with the steel wool, smooth the drips out and not get down to the board. It's tricky. That's why people are very, anxious about spraying.
Is the board a masonite board?
It is. It's like that. It is, I'm not going to remember. It feels like masonite, but it doesn't have any oils or anything in it. I don't remember what they make it out of. Shirley, you don't know what they make that out of, do you?
I can't think of the new name for it.
Yeah.
So you have to get it at like Blick or something?
Yes, you can get it online, all of the, most of the
And
art
what
stores.
about, do you paint your clay on it, or does it come like that?
It comes like that.
Oh,
There are people who are doing their own, making their own clay board with some success, but I'd rather just go with somebody else's, yes.
Now, you said something about drawing with charcoal, and were you talking about on the white clay board?
Yeah,
Or-
and,
okay.
and I thought about that this morning, because I have done it, and I didn't bring the charcoal. And the weird thing about the charcoal is that it might not work on the white, but once I have painted, right, if I've painted it, it will draw on the acrylic, and you can just rub it off with a cloth. So if I want to rethink, you know, something, like I'm not sure what I would rethink, you know, make his ear bigger, and I wanted to put a mark there, I could use charcoal and then do enough painting and scratching to know where that is, and then just rub the charcoal off.
How about on the black covered, black and white stuff, can you use a white charcoal pencil then? And
I
instead of the
wouldn't.
Cyril- oh,
I
no.
wouldn't. You know, you have to be very, you could try it, you'd have to be very careful what you use on these boards, because if you press too hard, you'll leave a mark. And if you use the wrong product, you won't be able to get rid of it except to scratch. I do sometimes, which I didn't do with the puppy, but sometimes I will do just little, like little marks, not a line surrounding an area, just do little, I don't know what you call them, tick marks to let me know where it is, and then those disappear by the end of it.
I have one more question. I've done scratchboard, but just the black and white scratchboard, I've never done with the acrylic. But when they passed it around, it's easy to scratch through the black, but I found it really, you had to put a lot more pressure on it to
Which
scratch through the acrylic paint, right?
You sometimes do. Which board did you have? Do you remember what it looked like?
There were several that just had.
There's one.
One of them has a little palm tree drawn on it.
This one, this is way too thick. This area is too thick.
Oh, I see.
And it will just, you can still do it. I have repaired bad paintings that I painted too thickly. You just have to get a sharp X-Acto knife and cut through it very carefully. And then you learn not to paint them thickly. There was another one that looked like a flower or something, and that probably was way too thick to scratch through. But the others should have been, but it takes a little bit firmer hand than the black. The black is so thin, you could just barely rest the tool on it and you'll get a mark. This won't do that. Yeah, this you have to have some intent. Yes.
Would you do us a favor and finish the bear and then send it to Linnell, she can put it on Facebook? Or half of the bear, or just,
We'll see. I can't promise because this isn't what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I've actually used this bear in at least 2 other demonstrations for different
That's
steps
okay.
of the way of the process. If I finish it, I will, but I don't know that I'll finish it.
Linda, can you talk about the way you do your abstracts a little bit? Because that's a whole nother.
Thank you. I
You
was
know,
going to
it-
ask that
it
exact same question,
feels-
because this one over here is a good example, right?
Actually, that's fish. It's
Yep.
fish.
It's fish? Okay.
Yeah, but it was meant to be.
I can only see it from the
Yeah,
side, so.
no, that's all right. It was
yeah.
it was kind of meant to be more abstract. And
Uh-huh.
then I thought, I think I'll put some fish in there. But the abstract ones, I also do the same process, right? So you have a board, you paint on it, you scratch back through it, you do washes. So, but when I'm doing that, it's just kind of
Intuitive.
out of my mind, yeah.
You're not planning, or you said you didn't plan those so
Yes, no, probably would do better to plan better, but it,
much. No, they come out awesome.
oh, thank you.
You don't need to plan.
Well, there are times, I think some things, a little more planning would make the piece easier. But I guess I just jump into it and then wing it. And then sometimes you're fighting your earlier decisions, and sometimes it goes really smoothly.
What are you working on? What kind of pieces are you working on right now?
Well, let's see, not animals anymore. I'm doing kind of landscapey things. One thing I'm doing is the eucalyptus leaves, just a long, thin image of eucalyptus trees and leaves. So although I like things that have kind of an abstract feel to them, at least to me. They may look pretty realistic when they're done, but the feel to me as I'm doing it is that, if I'm doing clouds, which is, you really question your life choices when you're trying to smooth clouds out with a knife. But it's like nobody's ever gonna see my photo reference. Who cares what the clouds look like? I care, but people won't know that it was that cloud, it's my cloud. And I like that. I like to be able to scratch without really looking back and forth to the reference too much.
So you kind of moved out of your period where you were working with water and reflection and light.
I may get back to it. I kind of like that.
Yeah. That was really
that's
some
kind of-
interesting work there.
That's kind of abstract-y, right?
Yeah.
It's-
A little on the abstract edge,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And when I'm doing it, it feels more abstract.
Mhm.
Again, it's like I can make certain areas lighter and certain areas darker, and no one's ever gonna see if it looked like that water, and it doesn't really matter.
One of the things I always admire about your work is that you go through periods of doing one thing and then another. And I like to watch that evolution. Like I have one of your smaller landscapes from several years ago, right? And so you did some of those, and then you moved into the next phase and the next phase. And so it's always interesting to see what your next phase is, and you change it up. And I enjoy that a lot.
Well, I enjoy it more. I think they say you shouldn't really. You should kind of pick with something and go with it, and then if you're
Get bored then.
selling in a gallery or something, I think that's what galleries like, is one, they know what you do and you do that, and then they
Yeah.
sell that, or they don't, but they know what you do. But yeah, it's hard for me to, because the process is so long, right? So I know when I'm planning my next piece, I'm gonna be with this thing for, weeks, probably, because I'm doing fairly large pieces. And if I know, it's almost now, if I know how it's going to turn out, it doesn't feel like it's worth doing. And unfortunately, that's kind of what the bear is for me now. I know what that could look like, and I'd rather be doing something else. So.
So when you mentioned how large, just because I'm amazed at the size, what's your largest piece?
The largest I've done was 30 by 36. Typically I do 24 by 36, and because that's what fits on my drawing table.
But thinking about that size and what you're doing, it blows me away.
Well, that's why the airbrush can be your friend, right? You figure out, well, okay, there could be a lot of sky in this piece, or there could be, some really smooth water. The water doesn't have to all be ripply, airbrush the water in, and then you're really just focusing on other parts of it. For this one, was a mistake in that I didn't want to clean my airbrush. So, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. So I didn't airbrush the background, which I typically do for these small flower pieces. I usually airbrush the background, and then you're done with the background. All you're working on is your flowers. And this one I didn't. I just painted the background and thought, well, I can smooth it, with my X-Acto knife, Well, then you're spending hours smoothing a background that you don't care about. So I hope I wouldn't do that again, but we'll see.
Are you usually starting from a reference photo that you've taken, or a painting you've done, or what's your starting point usually?
I always start with my own reference photos, the ones I have taken, and I take a lot of photos. And more often than not, I move stuff around in them. I don't, you know. I'm not a great photographer, so, you know, for a while, when we'd go on trips, I'd be taking pictures of, you know, the trunks of trees. Well, I might want to need, you know, I might need a trunk of a tree sometime, you know, and you know, individual leaves or something. I try not to do that anymore because you get a lot of digital images, but yeah, I use Photoshop to kind of set my composition, to remove extraneous stuff. I remove a lot because it's less to scratch, so, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
You use fixative, right? I don't think you mentioned that.
I don't use fixative.
You don't use fixative anymore?
Yeah.
Not even on the black?
I don't remember ever using fixative on these. Do you use fixative? Yeah, I don't. I just use
Does it go right to the varnish?
I do, yeah. You know, they say, and probably with the acrylic things, it would be smarter for me to put some layer between the varnish and the piece. But I don't, you know, I don't care.
I think acrylic would be stronger than the ampersand inks.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the acrylic, it's pretty indestructible, you know. And if it does get damaged, well, then you just again paint it in and scratch a little bit. I've even, like I said, scratched after I've varnished them. I have scratched them, so it could be even pieces hanging on my wall. I have. If I happen to have a knife in my hand. Well, but yes.
So you don't put glass over your scratch?
I used to. I don't anymore because I like the look of it. I like not having that separation, but I used to, yeah.
Linda, do you make prints?
I do make prints, yeah. Of some of the stuff I do make prints. I have some stuff at the Placerville Art Gallery and some larger pieces at the Fire and Rain Gallery in Folsom. Yeah. Anybody else? I think that's it.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, that was absolute, oh, wait.
And
That
we
was
probably
good.
need a change over back there.
That was,
I did.
Got it, Carolyn?
okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, now that was
Let me take mine off.
amazing. I failed to mention that Linda Heath Clark has been a member of PAA for many, many years. And she is also a past president. So she comes with credentials.
And thank you for saying that because I missed recording at the beginning, and so now we have Linda's name on the recording.
Oh.
Thank you,
Funny.
thank you.
Linda Heath Clark.
But that just makes it easy to see what a great job you're doing, Linnell. Can be a tough job.
And I also want to mention that Shirley, who was talking about Fix-It, is also an award-winning scratchboard artist as well. She does amazing horses and animals. Amazing.
And Carolyn Cunningham also has scratchboard awards in her repertoire.
Thank you, Linnell.
All right, anybody else do scratchboard that would like to get their name on the books here? Okay,
You know,
good.
if you're good at drawing, scratchboard could be your thing, you know. If you can draw well, then usually you can pick up scratchboard pretty well. If you get past that first frustrating part, maybe one or two pieces.
Just don't be in a hurry.
Right, don't be in a hurry.
Patience.
I know there's a cheaper way that you can start with scratchboard, because I used to buy the kind just on paper for students. So if you don't want to spend a bunch of money on boards, you can get the kind that's just on paper, but I don't know that you can make as fine of scratches.
What I found, that is not a bad way to go, except that these these boards, you can get 5x7, 3 5x7s for maybe $7 or something. Is that too much?
No.
Wow. I've lost my sense of the cost of things. And this is more forgiving than the paper-backed ones. So I would hate to give it to someone like a young person and have them be frustrated by the paper if they could really fall in love with it if they had a firmer board.
I've got some, you can ask for samples sometimes, and you'll get these 4x4s or 5x5s,
Uh-huh.
and get a whole thing of like 3 or 4 of
Yeah.
the boards. I've got them, and they were just samples, they were free.
Yeah.
But I
Amber
buy a lot of
samples.
stuff from them, you know, so,
Right.
but yeah.
They're pretty generous with
Yeah,
their.
I've never tried it yet, but yeah.
Supplies, yeah.
I've never used an airbrush. Is that a difficult thing to learn how to do?
Not the way I use it. Because I'm just filling in areas. So what I do is, I use the paint, right from the, whatever you call this, dropper. And if I want it to be a different color, I just add a new color on top of it and just keep spraying. So that's how I mix the colors. I'm not very picky about that. And you just need to know to start off the board, go all the way across, and stop off the board. It's when you stop in or don't go all the way to the edge, then you can really mess it up. But pretty much that's all I'm doing are these, swashes back and forth.
What kind of airbrush do you use? Is it just one of the little nail airbrushes, or is it more professional than that?
Well, it is like the cheapest one, I think that, Iwata?
Should I turn it back on?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's, the airbrush I use is the cheapest one that I think it's Iwata. It's like a $60 airbrush. And then I have a little generator I got for like $25 when Aaron Brothers was closing out stuff. So it doesn't have to be, for what I'm doing, it doesn't have to be a great airbrush.
And do you block out your image?
Sometimes.
And then airbrush
Sometimes
over
I
the-
don't. If, like, there was one of them, this thing, you can kind of see I airbrushed over the edges of what will ultimately be, what is that, a succulent? Because I know I'm going to clean up those edges, and I want my background color to go completely behind the image. But I have blocked them out. I blocked them out by just laying a piece of paper cut out over them and putting a weight on it and spraying around it, because I don't care too much about my edges, because I'm going to scratch them all back out. And I've also used, when I do care, sometimes, I don't care too much now, I don't know, maybe I'm doing something different, but you can use Frisket, that liquid Frisket, and get really, get it perfect. But I don't do that really.
Has Linda brought any of you folks over to the dark side?
If you scratchboard on white, are you on the dark side?
Yes.
That is the question. Okay, let's take our break, and we've got a fabulous second half already planned. Lots of information and a lot of announcements, so don't go away, okay? Member show that's coming up here in a few short weeks. And Sue is the head chair of the Motherlode show that's coming up in November. Sue and Carolyn share that chairmanship for the Motherlode, with Carolyn co-chairing. So the idea is that they're going to tell us everything we need to know about these shows. Everything, okay?
And if I forget something, ask me.
I even lowered the microphone for you. You see, I'm hunched over and you. Okay, so take it away, Carolyn Cunningham, for the membership.
I have notes because, well, I need them. And I have glasses because I need them.
You need them.
Okay, part of the reason we're doing this, you can all hear me, right?
No.
No?
That's better.
That's better, okay.
You got to be.
I'm going first, so if I spit,
And I won't lick it, don't worry.
you probably don't need to do this, but part of the reason we're doing this is we have so many new members that we kind of felt like we needed to kind of have a little overview of this, because some people are asking a lot of questions about the member shows and of course Mother Lode, and we want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. So we have 2 member shows a year, one in the fall and one in the spring. One in the spring, one in the fall. The upcoming show is going to be April 8th, and it runs from the 8th to the 12th at the Government Center in Placerville. If you don't know where that is, it's 360 Fair Lane, right across from the public library. And if you face the buildings, the show will be in the building on the left, but Take-In is in the building on the right. Take-In starts at 8 a.m. and ends at 9:30. And it says no late work accepted, even though our president accepted a piece of late work last time.
They gave me $100.
Christina.
Take-In.
Okay, Take-In day is Monday morning, April 8th, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Okay. You can find out anything you need to know about this after I'm done, if you forget or I don't go over something, on placervillearts.com. That's the place, there's a link to all the information about this show. We also have our dates for the fall show, which is October 7th through 11th. Same place, same time. This upcoming show, is a media-based show, which means that we are going to be categorized and judging by media. And the media categories are oil, acrylic, pastel and drawing media, which is a huge category, so I'll tell you in a minute how to find out all the details about that. Water media, so watercolor, gouache, I don't know what else.
Monotype?
Monoprints would be probably in miscellaneous. Printmaking processes are going to be, we have a miscellaneous category. Sculpture or three-dimensional work, mixed media and collage is one category. Photography is a category. And we have miscellaneous, which includes a whole lot of stuff. AI, jewelry, woodworking, but, and I'm looking at Christina right now because I know that she does ceramics. We don't have enough space for what we call utilitarian.
But Christina's got a pedestal.
Oh, you got a pedestal, okay, so.
Christina's
hey,
got a pedestal.
You know what? So hopefully it's sort of sculptural and artistic and, yeah. You know what, it's really hard to.
Bring whatever you want.
Yeah, bring what you want.
Bring what you want. You may win. You never know.
Yeah,
I'm welcome, or everyone's
will
welcome
not-
to share my pedestal as well.
I'm just not turning you away. As far as pedestals, Kathy, are there any pedestals left?
I'm here. Oh. Did you know that I was here? You were just being.
I'm just asking.
I'm here. Yes, we have one pedestal left.
So
It's available.
if you feel you want a pedestal for your work, you need to see Kathy and reserve it ASAP. If you have pieces of jewelry or other things that are within the miscellaneous category, they must be able to hang on the wall. Because we're very limited in our pedestal space, so we keep it for sculpture and 3D pieces. Okay? So I would love to be able to have more things on pedestals, but we really can't. I've talked to a couple of our jewelry people who are putting them in like shadow box type things so that they can hang on the wall. We also have a new category this time. We have a novice category. We were talking about the fact that some of our members kind of think, oh, I don't want to compete, I'm not good enough, or I'm new at this and I don't know what it's like, or so-and-so keeps winning and I could never compete with that. We want you to come and show your work. So our novice category is going to include any medium. It'll be its own category. So if you've never ever won an award for a piece of art, you don't have to, but you may enter as a novice. If you're feeling real good, you don't have to enter as a novice, you can enter a regular category. You will pay an entry fee for your art, but there will only be ribbons in the novice category, no money awards.
But if you win a ribbon in the novice category, then you don't get to be in the novice category. So, there's that. It's $10 per entry. You can enter up to 4 pieces, one of which can be not for sale. But if you enter 4 pieces, 3 of them need to be for sale, only 1 can be listed as not for sale. You decide how much you want to ask for it. We have made sales at our shows, and PAA takes 25 it's on here somewhere. Hold on.
Yeah, check the prospectus. I never can remember. Is it 30?
No, it's not 30. It's either 20 or 25. Honestly,
25.
25?
I think.
I'm pretty sure. If I
I'll
read-
check the prospectus and we'll
Okay.
get back to you.
It should be on here. There may be a first, second, third place. Oh, this is the judge's guidelines. Well, let me talk about the judge. We have Judge Sherry Hacker this time for our spring show. And I've had people come and look at our shows on occasion and say, one gentleman said, well, how do they choose the winners? What do they do, just pick what they like? Apparently, he didn't agree with what the judge chose. So what I did is I created some guidelines for our judges. Now, we have to assume our judges, and we choose people who we feel are going to be fair, and they don't see your names, and are going to choose based on some criteria that they're probably very familiar with. But so that I can give grumpy old people like that some guidelines and tell them, well, this is what we gave to the judge. Some of the things that they're looking for. First of all, the wow factor. Then technique, how the person used the medium. Was it handled well? Composition, color and value, originality and creativity, and presentation. Folks, presentation is important. Framing, if you have a 2D piece and you're putting a frame and a mat on it, check your frame, make sure it isn't all dinged up and your mat isn't all dirty because the thing's been sitting in the closet for the last 10 years. We do have a rule that says it has to be made within a certain, I've got it here.
3 years?
3 years, I think. Yeah. Let's see, hold on. 25%. 25%. What? 25%? I just found it. Got the wrong thing. So there's that. So the spring show is media-based. The fall show is going to go back to the way PAA always used to do it. Yeah, I'm rocking the boat a little on the media thing, which is based on subject matter. In the media show, we have 3D all by itself. In the subject matter show, we have now put, and I'll tell you the subjects in a minute, if Kathy here does one of her adorable clay animals, it's going to go with animals. She loves me.
I love you.
I feel so loved.
And what doesn't go that way? There are 2
Okay.
categories that don't.
Photography and AI. We in the media-based show, AI is going to be lumped in to miscellaneous, which is the way it was done last year. For the fall show, we will have people in portraits, landscapes and seascapes, animals, still life and floral, abstract, non-objective, photography in its own category, no matter whether it's an animal, a landscape, whatever it is, and AI. We don't yet have a novice category planned for the fall. We're gonna wait and see how it goes in the spring. But we may go ahead and add it, since it really doesn't cost anything other than ribbons for us, because we don't give cash awards for novice category. A couple of things that have been kind of added, if you are going to have something that has glass on it, and it's more than 18 by 24 inches, or greater than 432 square inches, length times width, folks, then it has to be plexiglass. And that's just for the safety of everybody that's handling your artwork, viewing your artwork. The government center doesn't allow nudes, doesn't allow anything with violence, doesn't allow any, you can read all of this stuff, you guys. So just keep in mind, it's a public space. How to enter, you can go online at placervillarts.com and download a an entry form and read the rules, and that's the best for us because that way we're not printing entry forms. There will be some available at take-in. $10 per entry, no late, and, oh, if you want details about the different media categories, go to placervillearts.com, click on the link, and then probably on another link that says details here. And you will not want to read the whole thing, but if you have questions about where what you do belongs, it should help you out. And then my email address is probably all over the place. You can always email me and ask me more questions. And reception is Friday, the last day of the show, which for April will be the 12th. It starts at 3, awards at 3:30 downstairs, and 4 o'clock you can start taking your artwork out. Please check your artwork out. I had someone remove their artwork at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, and I came in and went, oh, somebody stole their painting. But, you know, obviously he'd come in and taken it home. Best of show gets $50. First place in any, okay, we award first, second, and third in categories with 3 or more artists and a total of 6 or more entries, and at the judge's discretion. And first place is $25, second place is $15, third place is $10. Honorable mention gets a lovely ribbon. And honorable mentions are at the judge's discretion. Probably last spring, when Linnell had or maybe it was the fall, she had her AI, you know, she's the only one doing AI.
It was the
So
fall show.
She really couldn't get a first, second, or third, but the judge said, I want to recognize that somebody's doing this, and I love this, so she gave her an honorable mention. So the judge gets to kind of have a little leeway with that. All right. Did I answer all your questions? Sherry?
Volunteer time?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was what I was about to raise my hand on. Thank you, Sherry Lynn.
Sitting the show. If we've already sent out some requests to some of our regular people who help with take-in, and it's a big job, and hanging. So those people are probably already set. If you enter the show, you are committing to sit 1 3-hour period during the week.
Unless you're on the intake team.
Unless you're on the intake team. And I'll be on the intake team, but I'll be there a couple of more shifts anyway, because I need to be there. But occasionally we have someone that says, I simply cannot be there. And if that's really, really the case, we can have you come and help at outtake or bring food for the reception on Friday, or you can pay me to sit a shift for you.
See, you got off goody, and I said I would do it for a favor later down the road.
We need people there. So if you plan on entering, try and make sure that you're going to be able to provide a 3-hour shift to sit for us.
And you can get someone to substitute for you, however, they really do need to be a member of Placerville Arts Association. That way they're covered by our insurance policy.
As an adult.
We used to allow friends and family, but I really prefer it be a PAA member.
Okay. More questions?
You might,
I got, what?
mention respect for the offices
Okay.
around us.
We did have an issue with the government center people. There were some complaints a year and a half ago about us being too noisy. Especially during the take-in, because we take in one building, and then we have a group of people, a team that hangs, and a lot of our members who entered especially would go hang out in the lobby and wait for the judge to come through because they wanted to see what happened. But there was a lot of people hanging around. A lot of the employees in the building felt like they were, oh, can I go through there? I didn't want to bother them. It was kind of noisy. So once you bring your things in, we ask that you leave.
Unless you're volunteering.
Unless you're part of the group that's volunteering, hanging and things. Because we do not want to lose this venue. It's a really nice place. It's free for Placerville Arts, and we have a really nice lady who's our liaison now, and she's very nice to work with, and I don't want to irritate her and lose our venue. So if you're bringing your things in, then go away, and then you can come back around noon, and if you want to come back and see if there's a ribbon hanging by your piece.
And we will videotape a walkthrough with the judge after she finalizes her decisions. And so we'll there's no tape involved. We will video that, and it'll be up on YouTube by end of day that day. So
We will usually, in the past, and the board has decided not to do this for the member shows, in the past, we used to present that, or we used to have the judge come and speak here. We're doing away with that. But we will have the video, and we will show that. Are we gonna show that video at the meetings? Okay, so I'll let Sue tell you about Motherlode, but you can, if you don't see it on YouTube, and you can see it here at the following meeting. You had a question?
Yeah. Is there a sign-in sheet for the volunteer hours?
Okay, when you bring your work, have you already sent out sitting schedule or no? Okay, but did you send it to everybody?
Only the intake volunteers have given the notice at this point. If you want to sign up early for your shift, if you'll email me at placervilleartsassociation@gmail.com, I will send you the link to sign up for your shift. So now, because the intake volunteers have already had first priority on those shifts, and now it's time for the people that are not on the intake team. We don't require the intake volunteers to sit a shift, so if they want to do an extra one, we let them pick theirs first. And then you guys can go next. So shoot me an email, just say spring show sitting, and I'll shoot you back a link for it. Otherwise, you sign up when you bring your art.
When you bring your artwork, you can sign up then.
Also, what hours does the show go from?
Good question.
8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We break that into three-hour shifts, and we're there Monday through Friday of the week. And for those of you who are not familiar with the show or the government center, the spring show happens during the week that people go in to pay their property taxes. So we end up making good sales in the spring show, usually better than the fall show.
And because she just brought that up, if you're on the intake team especially, they have requested, because cutoff for taxes is apparently that Wednesday. So we're gonna be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when a lot of people are gonna be coming, and a lot of people who would like to park close. So if you're on the intake team, come, drop off anything you need to drop off, and then move your car down the way so that we can leave a lot of the parking spaces available for people coming and paying their taxes. And if you're just there to bring your work, you're not gonna be there that long anyway, so that's.
When we sit at the desk, we try to greet people and smile when they come in and make eye contact. And one of the good lead-ins for them is to say, if you'd like to take a look at our art show, we have a People's Choice Award. I can give you a ballot to fill out for that. And that's a good way to introduce yourself when you're sitting there. You may, if you make a good impression, you may hear their life story before they leave the building. But it's fun. It's fun to sit and do those shifts.
And we're gonna start out filling every shift with at least one person. And then traditionally, we've had 2 people on every shift, but sometimes we don't have enough people, and that's when I end up, and Linnell ends up having to sit extra shifts. But if you really don't feel comfortable being there by yourself, I guess you need to let us know. But we're gonna fill all the shifts with one person first, and then start plugging in second people.
Carolyn in her hand has the white book, I believe. Is that the one that we put in the box, or is that a different one?
It will have its, I know you can hear me without this thing, if this bugs me. It'll be on the table, and it will tell you everything you need to know. It has a tax table, the correct tax table in it now, and sort of procedures that you do, especially if you're the opener or the closer. It's not complicated. How to make sales, which can be a little complicated.
And if somebody does make a purchase and they want to take it then, we let them do that.
Because we've had people say, well, I'm on my way from Tahoe to the Bay Area.
And
I'm
that
not
decision increased our sales more than anything we've ever done.
Wow. You can put my name on for if you need extra people.
Extra sitters?
Yeah.
Thank you. I love you.
You'll be my first call.
If you have questions, I will be here at the end of the meeting, but not for too long because I'm catching a ride with somebody else. And she's gonna wanna leave.
Okay, tell me.
No,
Donna.
one more thing.
Can you give a synopsis of Sherry Hacker?
She's very much an abstract artist.
Yeah.
She apparently, and I didn't bring, oh, maybe I do. Oh, it's over there.
Is it online?
You can find her online, absolutely. And she's familiar with Placerville. I think she may have even been a previous Placerville Arts Association member.
And she's a professor.
And she's a professor. She also works, I don't know, she's currently teaches at Sugarloaf Camp, but she has. And then she also does work apparently with people in prison, does art projects and things with them. So she's been around. She is very abstract, but you know, you have to figure anybody who really is knowledgeable about art in general can come in and make good choices. You just, everybody's different. And we never agree with everything a judge chooses. You all know that. But I can't have any of you do it because you're PAA members. So
I volunteer all the time. And they tell me no all the time.
Is she the one at the East Street Gallery in Sacramento?
You know what, let me go, I think I brought her
The
bio.
East Street Gallery?
Sherry used to live here. I don't know where she lives
Okay,
right
East
now,
Street-
but.
Oh, look, I have her bio. And
Like
here, I
20
even have a
years.
picture.
She's got her bio.
Oh, here, show the camera. Oh. There's the
There she
judge.
is. And for an example of her work, okay, this is kind of what I've been seeing recently, but she's got this very, I'm probably in the way of the.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Okay, and let me see if it, really quick, if there's anything about East Street. Originally from Chicago, blah, 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 El Dorado County, Sugarloaf Fine Arts Camp, and Foundation Board member, East Street Gallery.
Oh, yeah, so
Hacker
she's,
creates and curates at East Street Gallery.
so she's with like an amazing ceramicist who's a teacher and educator at a college and
She's been
fiber
around.
arts. She's around all sorts of artists.
We really try and find qualified judges, and it's not easy, as Sue is about to come up and tell.
And now we have a different show.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Susan Wickersham, call me Sue, and I'm gonna tell you about the Motherlode Show. So, the Motherlode Show is not a Classical Art Association member show, so there are some differences in it. It's a national show, this year is our 58th. It's a national show, which means any artist in the United States can participate. We are having it at the MAC, which is Mill Station Arts and Culture Center in Rancho Cordova, where it's been the last 2 years. And it'll run from Thursday, November 7th, which is the opening day, through the closing day, Saturday, November 23rd. The gallery is open on Thursdays and Fridays from 2 to 7, and Saturdays from 11 to 4. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are by appointment. And there'll be concerts, there'll be workshops happening at the same time that the show is happening. We're changing our how to enter this year with Cafe, which is callforentry.org. I researched all the different ones, and we came up with that one being the best fit for us. Entry thingy is good for a small show of less than 100 entries, but when you start having, last year we had 421 entries and 200 artists. It just was a nightmare in a lot of respects. And it takes, with entry thingy, it took us a lot of time. Jerry and I are still working on stuff in January. So we're working on this show all year long, at least I am, and many of my volunteers too. So Cafe is a little different. So if you are planning on entering, or even if not, because Cafe has 180,000 artists registered on their site. And they have, I don't know how many shows. I get emails probably two or three times a week advertising all the shows that are happening, that have registered with Entry Thingy, and we'll be one of them. We're also getting, so we're getting more for our money to be on Cafe, because we'll have a lot more advertising through them, so we don't have to do probably Facebook advertising, which gets us a little bit. and it's a wider range, a
And,
wider,
and Entry Thingy raised their fee 50%.
yeah, thank you.
So it went from $2 per entry to $3 per entry, which
we
made
pay.
Cafe actually, with more features, a little cheaper.
And I've been going through some of the webinars online. Linnell was at one of the introductory ones. I just finished one about the, because I'm the manager, so the management of the show. It's gonna save us a ton of time to go that way. So it is a little different where you register. A cool thing is you can register now. You can upload your pictures of your art now. And when you're ready to, when we open the call, which won't be until the first week of June, but you can have your stuff up there forever. And you say in a month you want to end this one show that comes through your email because you've registered with them, you can start downloading your pictures into that and enter that way. So it's kind of a universal umbrella where you're there and then you can pick the shows you want to be. You could enter this one piece in 5 different shows if you want. So I think for the artists, it'll be better also, but if you haven't done it, you might want to jump on and get a little familiar with it. Because the deadline this year is going to be, right now, I don't think I'm going to change it again, Wednesday, September 18th at 11 p.m. and I am not going to be available then. I mean, I probably will be, but if there's glitches and you have them, and I've got 10 people that got glitches and they aren't finding their answer on Cafe, I can't help 10 people. So go on sooner than later and register yourself just to be on the Cafe site, because you can't start the Motherlode entries until June. We don't have it up there yet. The entries for the show will be $20 per piece. You can enter up to 5 pieces, but only 2 will be accepted.
Maybe.
Sorry, yes, maybe, thank you, maybe accepted.
If you get a piece in this show, you're doing really, really well.
And one thing I want to bring up that I hear from a lot of our artists is they don't want to enter because the competition. And
Who was in the Motherlode show last year? Yeah, see? There's a lot of hands in this room that went up.
Actually, 50% of the people that are in the Motherlode show are Possible Art Association members, or more.
That are hanging in the show.
That are hanging in the show, yeah. But what was awesome to me was, since I've done it, this will be my 3rd year, I meet with the artists and talk to the artists and correspond with them, and a lot of people entered one piece, never entered a show before, and got in. And that resonates with me because the first time I ever entered into the Motherlode show was in 2018 and I got in and won. Shocked me. But it can happen. So it's, and also, there's something that I don't think a lot of people think about. Again, when we go back to our judges, we spend a lot of time picking our judges and asking them, like, we actually instruct them without being insulting. We say, we need this, we need that, we need this. If they fit with us, then we offer them the opportunity to be, and we pay them to be our judge. And I just lost my train of thought. Do you know where I was going?
You spend a lot of time
vetting
judges, and a lot of energy goes into this.
But there's a reason why I was going to say that.
Because
we
should applaud you.
No, I don't want that. No. Because even if you don't get into the show, your piece is being looked at by that judge. And I have lots of stories about where artists have gone in good ways, having met that judge, as far as that judge seeing that person's piece. Jeremy is a perfect example. He did get in the show last year. He's being mentored by William, who was our judge from last year. William's friends bought Jeremy's piece, one of his pieces, for $1,600, over $1,600.
She's talking about a 19-year-old artist that we discovered at the county fair last year, Jeremy Wells.
Yeah.
And then we started trying to mentor him to move him forward with his art. And as she said, William Ishmael is mentoring him now, and he sold a piece for over $1,000 at the Motherlode show.
Yeah, a graphite piece of a portrait piece. $16.50 he sold that piece for. And William was just having lunch with these people and told them they should go see this piece. They did and bought it. Now, of course, he's in the show, but there is still, I've got a lot of, like I said, stories about people who didn't get in but got connected with judges. So speaking about our judge, who, you probably guys aren't as crazy as I am, but who watches the KBIE art auction? So do you know who Dee Heath Oldman? That's our judge. So I kind of got freaked out this year and invited 2 people at the same time, and both of them accepted. So, but I'm not going to tell you who the other person is. We may have them. I'm hoping for next year. But Dee is going to be our judge this year, and she is the art lady. She's also on Good Day Sacramento, so we're hoping that we're going to get some TV coverage also. And she also owns Archival Gallery, and she, up until 2 years ago, she was the curator of the KBIE art auction. So I think she knows what she's doing. Yeah. Something that is different that she has asked for is, we used to, when you enter your pieces on the prospectus, we asked not to show your frames. She wants to see the frames. So, and the prospectus, once we finalize that, Carolyn and I should be doing that soon. I have it, but I need Carolyn to look at it. I'm going to ask if we can have that on the website ahead of time, and then you can look and see what all, because some things have changed. We have, right as of now, we have 15 awards totaling $3,150. The best of show is $500. There's 3 award of excellences at $300. There's 3 award of merits at $200, and 300 honorable mentions at $100. And then we have 2 sponsor awards, Anita Wolf Award, which is $100, and the Matt Sugarman Award, which is $150. Those last 2 awards, Anita Wolf and Matt Sugarman, are sponsored by Joyce Martin. Sponsors Anita Wolf because she was her mentor, and she does that. I don't know. It's been every year for I don't know how long.
And quite a while, and she's pretty specific. She juries the entries. The judge juries the entries first, and they come in, and then Joyce Martin goes through, as do the Sugarmans, and juries the entries that they want the judge to consider for the award. Now, the Sugarmans are kind of like all over the place. They like puppies and miners and
Actually,
cowboys.
I got them to narrow it down a little bit.
Okay,
So
good.
I'll
All
tell
right, so you're going to talk about what the
you.
criteria are?
Yeah, so Joyce, I asked Joyce if she could be a little more specific for us and for the judge. And she says, the artwork must be an original painting in an impressionistic style done in oil or pastel. The subject matter should also reflect her focus, Anita's focus, on landscape, still life, portraiture, animals, and florals. And then Matt Sugarman's family said to qualify for the Matt Sugarman Memorial Award, the artwork must reflect or incorporate the historic or natural resources of the Gold Country. All media will be considered, and then they'll each choose between 5 and 10 pieces. And then when the intake comes, we keep those separate, and then the judge can do her final judging of who wins the award. We also have Placerville Art Association members only. So if you're a Placerville Art Association member, you are eligible for these awards, where anyone else who is not. First place is $300, second place is $200, and honorable mention is $100. The reception is going to be Friday, November 8th from 5 to 7. We'll have a judge's slide presentation at 6. Stella's Trio, which is part of Rancho Cordova's Symphony, I forgot what they're called, will be playing. They're a 3-part band. And we'll have food and wine also. We also need volunteers to do like a 2.5-hour shift at the MAC. Cheryl Gleason, who's also a member of PAA, is the curator and art director of the MAC, so she's always there. And the shifts are 2.5 hours when the gallery's open. And you sit at the front of at the door, greeting people, saying hi, telling them who we are. It's a great way to let people know about Placerville Art Association. And a lot of this is all about getting new members and new artists and just growing and building. I felt like you were gonna say something. Okay. And we will have the volunteers scheduled up a little bit later. We're early. I mean, I like to be early, but we don't have to do volunteers this early. I know it's kind of crazy to think about that, but I just want you to know that I've asked the past volunteers who sat at the desk, and Cheryl, how they liked it. Was everything okay? Do we need to change it? And everybody said they had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
I usually sit when the first shift at the opening of the show, which is the day before the reception, and I always have a great time. 2.5 hours, easy peasy, and then I get to go see the show with nobody there, and that's also nice, because the next day at the reception, wowie kazowie, it is busy, and we usually have a few hundred people show up.
Last year, well, the count last year, and I think it's probably off, we had 185 people, so I don't think they counted all of us that were volunteering. So there's probably was a couple hundred people there. And there's a lot of excitement. It's fun. I get a little stressed, but that's
It's a
just.
great venue.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an awesome place. And
I
they
did a studio tour there, and yeah, it's really good. They do a good job managing it.
Yeah.
They've updated all the lighting and
Yeah.
stuff recently. It looks nice.
Yeah, upstairs got painted, new ceiling, and new lighting, and gallery lighting, just this year, so that's a plus.
Are you going to tell them the tip about where they should put their hangers on the back for this gallery?
So the way the gallery, I don't know the system's names, but it hangs off a little wire, and then there's a hook thing. So typically, they would tell you to hang, what they used to say, middle?
A third down.
That's where it typically goes, the third down.
So go up a little higher.
Go up a little higher.
But make your wire taut, a little tighter.
Right,
You don't want
so
it
it
coming
doesn't-
over we had a couple of those.
Because otherwise when it hits that hook, because she
Yeah.
doesn't have rods behind it,
It
she
just
just
goes
has
this
strings
way.
behind it, they flap forward.
Yeah.
So you're trying to defy gravity with the way you place your wires.
So at intake day, mine looked horrible. Hanging, I'm like, I don't like that. And so I took it off the wall, we moved up that's when I learned that it should be moved up.
She actually sent her husband to do it.
He's a volunteer. But I'm gonna, we may have to add that to the prospectus, Carolyn. Anyway, there's a lot to the prospectus, but you'll read it when you read it.
There are no categories, there's no media classifications, and we are accepting photography and AI in this show. So
Everything.
the judge is told to give us a good mix of what has been entered.
I loved all the 3D.
We have,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
we accept everything.
Okay.
I mean, what, Karen?
No video.
No video, no installations. No, it's in the prospectus, no.
With Cafe, you need, if you are a 3D artist and you want to enter more than one view of your 3D art, you need to put it into a collage format so that it's on one single image. Because with Cafe, you can only upload one image per entry, per piece entered. So,
Yeah, and I was gonna say, we've had jewelry entered, we've had lamps entered, it just depends on what the judge, what their show.
bowls. Luke Haley has had bowls in the last two shows.
Yeah, we give the judge some criteria, but ultimately they're the ones curating the show. And then we have control of where the show actually, or Cheryl does, of where the actual pieces hang in the gallery. You were gonna.
Is there a commission
Oh, good,
percentage?
thank you. 20%. The gallery takes 20%, artists take 80%. And you'll get your checks in, this year it was 3 weeks after the show, and I think that was because the gallery, the person who does that, their treasurer, I think their system, they went to someplace back east, so it took a little bit longer this time. Yes,
So
Carol?
the gallery gets the commission on sales, but PAA gets the entry fees, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
PAA, the only thing PAA gets is the entry fee. The gallery gets the commissions, they get the tips. at the bar, also.
It's free beer and wine, and then we tip at the bar, which covers the cost of the beer and wine.
And if you weren't there, the woman who's the head of the gallery said it was the best show they'd ever had. It was fabulous.
Thank you. Yes, I've heard that 2 years now. Yay. So it's a very interesting, diverse show. And one of our goals is to make it that, when we had Barbara Burge be our judge, one of her examples was, and this, I don't mean this to sound sexist, but this was her example. So it's this husband and wife go, the wife drags her husband to the art show, like I do. And he's not interested, but he's going to support her. So, but Barbara likes rusty old tools and stuff all put together into sculpture. So she figures if she has that at a show, he's gonna go and see it and probably be interested. And there might be good, conversation with them on the way home. So that's a good example of that. We just want to be all inclusive and very have a big variety. Yeah.
About how many entries were accepted last year? Do you remember?
Yeah, 130.
Okay.
The gallery can handle about 130, although I think Cheryl's sweating a little bit this year, so I got to talk to her. 122 showed up last year. So that's another thing. If you enter and get in and your piece sells, bring it anyway, and we're going to put a note not for sale on it. Because the judge has curated that piece for that show. There's no substitutions. And if you don't bring it, you've basically taken a place up of somebody else that could have gotten in. But things happen, things happen. But if we can, we try to avoid that. Because it's always a disappointment when things have been accepted and they don't come.
The only time you might have a problem with switching to not for sale, if you let Sue know ahead of time, is if both of your pieces that were accepted are not for sale, because only one of your pieces can be not for sale.
And I check and I guess I'm sure I could check it like I did with Entry Thingy. There was a couple times I had to contact artists who they didn't fit it within that rule. Jeremy was one of them. He had all three of his pieces not for sale. I said, if you can only have one, and if you only want one to be in the show, it's less chances. Because I didn't tell him this, but I knew William liked his pieces. So anyway, yeah, it's always, but having it not for sale is okay too, because you're get in front of that judge and all the people that are going to be seeing the show. The amount of people that did come to the show overall was about 500. And we're hoping, every year I hope to increase all of these numbers to make it more popular.
How many pieces did we sell last year?
We sold over 10 at about $5,100. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, the prospectus will be up as soon as we finalize it. I'll have Vessela see if she can put it on the internet, on our website, and then you can see that ahead of time before Cafe gets it, which won't be till the first week of June. And if you have any questions, just contact me. I do the newsletter too, so email me there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Kathy's going to hit you with some quick announcements.
Yes, I'm gonna do this real quick. My one question is, does everybody get the newsletter? Through an email? Okay, did I see a shaking of his head? No? Okay.
Newsletter only goes to members.
It comes in an email. So everything that I'm going to reiterate, the details are going to be in the newsletter. Everything. That newsletter is
That's not true. The Berks Junction volunteers that I'm looking for are not in the newsletter.
That is called a blast. I was going to get to that.
No, it isn't in a blast either, because we don't have any more blasts left. I need volunteers for face painting and butterflies, and it's not published anywhere.
I thought it came out as a special email.
Nope, that was for vendors. That was for vendors. Now I need volunteers.
Okay, I thought it went
No,
to everybody.
no,
Okay.
no, not in the newsletter.
We're gonna come back to that one. Okay, so if you don't by any chance get it in the email, go to placervillearts.com and the newsletter will be there. And it's got amazing information, great detail. Thank you, Sue, for doing that.
Sure.
It's a beautiful newsletter.
Yes.
Okay, it is time to renew your membership. Everybody sitting here is a member, probably, because they renewed their membership. Okay, if not, pay the piper. One important note is the April challenge is repurposing art. Does everybody know what that is? Taking a piece of something, art or something, and adding to it to make it different. Okay, and members, bring your piece in, and that'll be for the April show. Okay?
April meeting.
Not the show,
April meeting.
April meeting.
Did I say show?
Yes.
Yes.
I got show on the brain. Okay. Art lunch. Art lunch is this Wednesday, and it's going to be new and exciting thanks to Jerry Litwin, who decided we should go to a gallery. We should actually see some art at this art lunch. So it is going to be at the Gallery 48 Natoma. I looked it up on the map. It's right in the same, if not right next door to the Folsom Zoo. The police department is there, the Folsom Zoo, it's right there, okay? Meet at 11 at the gallery, and then lunch is at the Lazy Dog at 12:15, okay? I hope to see, I'm coming.
And then we have a gallery after lunch if anybody wants to go down to the fiber show in Rancho. Texture show.
Okay.
And
Yes.
Linda Nunez, the artist who's hanging at the gallery, will be with us at 11 o'clock to walk us through the show.
Okay, that means we have a special guide.
And you should email me for RSVP so we know how many people to plan for lunch.
Yeah. Let Linnell know so that she can give Lazy Dog a heads
Because
up.
we're up to 12 already.
Ooh, whoa, okay. The next one. I personally need volunteers for the outreach program that we have. The outreach program is years and years and years old, and it's what we do with our outreach funds. And right now, Sylvia Coleman has joined the committee, and I'm looking for a couple more. So if you are interested, I will do all the legwork. All I'm looking for is a conversation among the committee to decide to look into, check out various charitable organizations that we can help, with the idea that we want to keep art alive with our kids, okay? If you're interested, it can be fun. Always looking for board members, and we're a great board. We have a lot of fun at our meetings. Huh, Linnell? Linnell smiled. We have a lot of fun, and we're looking for a specific category, and that would be special events. And you would have lots of mentors. You don't go into this blindly. You know, think about it. We'd love to have you guys on, or we'd love to have you on board.
And we're also open for board advisors. If you don't want to take on a full job, just come and see what fits for you.
Yeah. Another thing is, and I received an email from the county fair. The county fair is now accepting applications. And because Linnell is heading that up with the fine arts category, I would suggest if you guys have an inkling to submit something, think about it. Pull down the application and apply. It would be a lot of fun, and you might win something, an award.
Is that gonna be on your website also, as a link or anything?
I didn't see it on the newsletter,
It will be in the newsletter this coming.
but Sherry, if you don't get that, you can go into the El Dorado County Fair.org or .com, and they'll have it there at their website. But that would be a really neat thing to do. Okay, and then the last thing is the Springtime at the Junction, which is gonna be at Burke's Junction in Cameron Park. Does everybody know where that is?
Yes.
Okay. Donna Nelson got this wild idea that for Earth Day, which is April 20th, that we could partake in an event at Burke's Junction, which is it the stage that's doing this, or is it Burke's Junction in general?
Donna called Burke's Junction to see if we could do an art swap there. And they said, oh my God, we've been trying to reach you, and we just have a board member that we assigned as your liaison. And so our liaison to Burke's Junction is Tracy Louth, who is a PAA member. And we have been invited to assist Burke's Junction in creating an art hub at the shopping center there. And the first event that we're participating in is Springtime at Burke's Junction, which is loosely happening around Earth Day with a few Earth Day things. We have been given space for 25 artist booths at this art festival. We currently have reservations for all 25 of those booths, and we're starting a waiting list. The fee for PAA members to have a booth is $40. The fee for non-PAA members is $50. We split that money with the stage at Burke's Junction. They are the anchor tenant at Burke's Junction, and they're a new 501c3 that focuses on performing arts. They have a 54-seat venue now at Burke's Junction, and they'll have several events at the stage on the day that we're having the art festival. There'll be a puppet show, there'll be some poetry readings going on, and then I think another evening performance. So this is an exciting thing for us because we're hoping that we may be able to wiggle our way into some open retail space there because it's not fully rented, and bring some life and art and vibrancy to the space. We may have the opportunity to do classes and workshops there along with other indoor activities. And so we're coordinating this, and we do have a shared PAA booth that we still have space in. If somebody wants a quarter of a booth, see me about that. If you want to get on the waiting list, see me about that. But what my real need is right now is Tracy Louth is looking for someone or two people that can do face painting that day at the event. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's a paid gig or whatever. But that, if you want to do face painting, I'll put you in touch with Tracy and she can talk to you about that. The other thing though that I'm looking for artists for, and I have two volunteers in the room already, Donna and Tony have volunteered, is Burke's Junction is working with one of the Native American tribes that is working on establishing a flyaway zone for the monarchs. Apparently the native tribes that travel through the area used to plant milkweed along their routes, and that then the butterflies would, the monarch butterflies would follow that. And so the tribe is trying to reestablish that flyaway route for the monarchs. So in conjunction with their booth that they have for that, they would like us to create a chalk mural that day with participation from the people at the event. And what we're hoping is to get, you know, some milkweed drawn low and some butterflies flying off high, and it will all be in chalk, so nothing is permanent. And so if anybody's interested in working as anywhere from general on down, because Donna is going to be a lieutenant and she doesn't want to be a general. Tony has promised that she'll come in there somewhere, maybe like in the captain level. But if anybody wants to kind of join in on this, I think it'll be a fun day, and we'll make sure you have chalk to do the mural with and try to hook you up with some kids to have fun. So that's what I need. I need chalk people and face painters.
There's your details.
Is that a wall or ground?
It's a wall on the exterior side of the building, and you do not have to get on a ladder.
Is Burke's Junction, oh, someone, sorry.
Okay, I gotta interrupt, sorry, oh, I blew it, oh, I'm sorry, Deborah. Okay, we need to send around the sign-up sheet for goodies for, and I think the sign-up sheet is for the rest of the year. So please, be generous and put your name in several times.
Why don't we just leave it on that table, and if you wanna sign up, go to that table? Because some of the people that have already signed up probably want
Wanna get out of here.
All right, and now what was Christina's question about Burke?
Oh, is Burke's Junction, is that is where Samstown used to be?
Yes,
Oh,
Samstown,
okay.
it's Samstown.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And just for the record, the festival, if we can call it that, runs from 11 to 4. So that would be your obligation to run your booth. And anything else? That's all I've got. Please, 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 please check the newsletter. That is an amazing, full of information. Okay? All right. Safe travels, everybody.